talk about, not just the state of Detroit, but how all of these things are connected. There's a lot of things that are going on across our nation and across our world. So the Hip Hop Caucus, as LaRonn talked about, we did the Do or Die with Diddy, we worked with Russell Simmons, we worked with T.I., we even worked with 2 Chainz. And some people would say, why y'all work with 2 Chainz? Because 2 Chainz was an ex-felon, and you don't understand that I don't care if you did something wrong in the past, if you pay your time, pay your dues, you should be able to be in the political process, in the process of building your community. But in Virginia, people got to jump through ropes just to get the right back to vote. And in North Carolina, it's a little bit easier, but 2 Chainz was an ex-felon, and he was going around talking to ex-felons about your rights to vote and for your right to have a part in the political process. So we know that that voice last year in 2012, 2 Chainz was all on the radio, and droves of people were coming out to get registered to vote. And young people actually turned out to vote. And I say that because in North Carolina, our legislation now is going crazy because they're making sure the young people can't vote no more. But that's the power of hip-hop, and that's why we're here. So Reverend Yearwood, like I said, the CEO and president of the Hip Hop Caucus, he said, we're here in Detroit. Day in, day out, we know that there are struggles to save our lives of our young people. We know that physical violence on the streets is causing death, destruction, and leaving our community in a state of pain and suffering. We're going to discuss today, but being the Hip Hop Caucus, a 21st century organization, we are going to add to the discussion of violence in a new way. We assert that we must also talk about the violence of pollution from dirty fossil fuels, industry that is causing cancer, asthma, heart, heat stroke, and other diseases that are killing our elderly, our youth, and shortening our lives. Because our communities don't have resources, we are viewed as the path of least resistance. And we are often without sufficient power to tell polluters, not in my backyard. So we have a disproportionate amount of pollution in our air and water, which is the same pollution that is causing climate change. And to just take a brief part, the same thing happened in my city of North Carolina, where they put a waste plant, a waste plant in the backyard of the black community. Landfill, that's thank you, landfill. But the community came together to move that, but they always put it in our community. And our face is not necessarily on issues of environmental racism or climate change, but these are the things we need to talk about. We can't afford health care costs that come from asthma, lung disease, cancers, heart disease, and heart illness that result from climate change pollution. We have the right to life, we have the right to breathe, we have the right to shelter that protects us from the elements, we have the right to healthy and safety communities. But all these basic fundamental human rights are being infringed upon by the fossil fuel industry and elected officials who do their bidding. I put forth that dirty energy polluters are as criminal, if not more so, than the people in the streets pulling the trigger of a gun and shooting someone. The reason being, we have alternatives to pollution at our fingertips. We have the technology and know-how to transition to a clean energy infrastructure using wind and solar, but instead we're deciding oil, coal, and gas. Our tax dollars are going to polluted industries so they can make more money while hurting and killing the poorest and most vulnerable amongst us. Sometimes folks are surprised to hear an organization like the Hip Hop Caucus talking about environmental issues and solutions like renewable energy. But don't be surprised. We're talking life and death. Poor people and people of color are disproportionately being harmed by pollution in their backyards. I know everyone in this room lives too close to a coal-fired power plant. I know everyone in this room lives too close to an oil refinery. To make it even more local, the southwest region of Detroit, where 48217 is located. I said that wrong. 48217 is located in Detroit. And it's surrounded by heavy industry, led by Marathon Oil Refinery, and including several U.S. Steel, Detroit Edison Coal Plant, U.S. Gypsum, and the Detroit Wastewater Plant, the single largest sewage plant in the U.S., all within a 1-mile radius of one another, surrounding a community of about 25,000 people. You are literally breathing and drinking toxins while they have energy alternatives available to us. The Hip Hop Caucus is working in our communities to organize this movement for the right to breathe healthy air, drink healthy water, exist in livable temperatures, and maintain our health and our children. We demand climate solutions, we demand justice, we demand an end to dirty energy subsidies, and we demand investment in a clean energy future. So I would like to challenge the upcoming panel and all of us in this room today to broaden our ideas about what violence against our communities consists of, who the perpetrators are, and what holistic solutions are. For example, we have scientific evidence that green space reduces violence in communities because time spent in natural surroundings relieves mental fatigue, which in turn relieves inattentiveness, irritability, and impulsiveness, recognized by psychologists as precursors to violence. Green spaces also support contact among neighbors, which we don't have anymore. We don't have those communities. Leading to stronger neighborhood social ties, the building blocks of strong, secure neighborhoods where people tend to support, care about, and protect one another. This may sound outlandish to some of you, but what is killing in our communities is coming from all sorts of places, and we must think beyond our traditional policies, traditional anti-violence initiatives, and traditional health care conversations, and start talking about what we are going to do to get clean air, clean water, and safe streets in our neighborhoods. I'm very glad, as he will be here. He was thankful to the chief. James Craig is going to talk about policing issues, and I hope that our panel that follows will continue the conversation in a creative way that makes links between all of these life and death issues that we must fix for the children coming up now. So those are some words that Reverend Yearwood wanted me to talk about, and like I said, it's something that we don't always think about, but we know that some of people that are in Detroit are taking some of these vacant lots and start to have our own growing, or as Will Allen say, growing power, having the ability to grow our own food, to feed our own people. Because we're dying at the merchants of death. We're dying for those that want, they want a God, but that God is gold, oil, and diamonds at the expense of our lives and the expense of our people, and our children are dying. So when we are natural people to the earth, and when we have clean earth, then we be all right. So when we are buying water, that's a problem in itself. It's a problem that we're buying water and we next to Lake Michigan. That's a real sad thing. But the reason why we're talking about these issues that hip-hop is not just something in a little box. Hip-hop is bigger than that. Hip-hop is bigger than what most people think it is. So hip-hop, as Keras once said, hip means to what? Educate, to inform, to give knowledge, right? And the hop means to move. So hopefully you got some knowledge and you will move out on what you get. So all of you didn't like hip-hop before, you're part of hip-hop now. So all of you that may not have had swag before, you got swag now. And last on this point about this whole issue of climate change, one of the things, since I'm from North Carolina, and actually Greensboro, North Carolina, home of the Woolworth sit-in, where 4 freshmen sat in from the University of North Carolina in 1960, and they sat down so people could stand up. But it's not about us just get along to come along. It's now about our very existence. So this is about the civil rights movement, or the lunch counter moment for the 21st century. It's about our own existence. It's about our own lives today. So when we're discussing these issues, it's not about, can we get along, come along, sing together, all get along. It's about us existing. The school-to-prison pipeline is a reality. Modern day plantation is a reality. The new Jim Crow is a reality. Children dying of asthma is a reality. We can't afford health care because we ain't got good health is a reality. But Detroit, we're going to stand up, right? We're going to get up, right? And with the help of the Hip Hop Caucus and all the other organizations here, we thank you on behalf of Reverend Lennox Yearwood, as he would say, can't stop, won't stop. So I want y'all to say it with me. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. So that was from my heart. I had to read the speech, and I ain't mind reading the speech because you need to know that, but I do want you just to look around before I leave this podium. Just look around, seriously. Just look around in this room. And know that there was some power in here, and you in here for a reason. This didn't happen by chance, and I thank the panelists that's here. I thank them for everything they said because they gave from their heart and their spirit. I don't even have to know. You know how you see somebody, you know, people of color, you know how you see somebody walking, get that nod? Did y'all feel that nod today? Did you feel like you're home? So hopefully you will stay and continue to enjoy the rest of it. And like I said, from the top of all our political leaders, our community leaders, and just the brothers from the block for coming out, and hip-hop, we won't stop. All right?